Hi guys, so today's blog's about bad tenants and how do we avoid them. Now, a lot of people, in particular like financial advisors and financial planners say to their clients, oh, don't buy property because you get bad tenants. It's like, come on guys, like they just want you to buy their shares and stuff. Anyway, bad tenants are actually quite easy to avoid, and I've just prepared a list here to help you. There are actually 3 prevention measures and 1 cure. So, first of all, buy in the middle of the market. Now, I come from a very low socio-economic area, right? And I'm just going to say this very carefully, and I don't want anyone to jump to conclusions. Listen carefully what I'm going to say. Bad people, right, are usually poor people. But poor people are usually good people, right? So, of course, whether you have money or not doesn't make you good or bad, right? But most bad people don't have money, because if I'm a bad person, if I'm a bad tenant, I've got a lack of respect for authority, i.e. I sign a lease and then don't comply with it, and I've got a lack of respect for other people's possessions, and I move into your investment property and I trash the place, right? So if I have those 2 qualities, that's going to affect other aspects of my life, like my employment, and I'm not going to be a very highly paid job. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we stay away from the low end of the market, we're going to stay away from most of the bad people. Properties in the lower end of the market are a bad investment anyway, for a number of reasons. Bad tenants is one, but maintenance costs is another, and poor capital growth is another. But so generally stay away from low end of the market, go to the middle of the market and get a brand new property in the middle of the market, and you're not going to have problems with bad tenants. Now, one trap that people do fall into, they get 3 people, right, 3 separate people to move into their house, their investment property. You're inviting bad tenants as well, because really what you've got is you've got the lower end of the market pulling their resources to live in the middle of the market. So you don't want that either. What you want in your investment property is a family. Families stay, they look after the property because they're going to stay there a long time. They don't like to move because kids are in school, and they don't like to move the kids out of school. So houses, families, middle of the market, you're going to avoid most of the bad tenants. I'm not going to say never, but you're going to avoid them. Now, the next thing to do is get a great rental manager. Now, what's a great rental manager? Well, a great rental manager owns their own property for a start. There's a psychological shift that occurs when someone goes from being a renter to owning their own property. Then they realise how hard they had to work to get that property and how valuable it is, and they will treat that property with respect and manage it more responsibly. You know, it's obviously there's exceptions to that rule, but it's a good broad brush rule to make. If your rental manager's already got a property of their own, there's a good chance they're going to be more supportive of you rather than supporting the tenant. When people are poor and they don't own any property, they tend to sort of stick together and side with the tenant. And you don't want your rental manager doing that. You pay the rental manager, they need to work for you. That's the first thing. Now, a great rental manager also doesn't have too many properties to manage. In the property investment, property rental management game, it's quite tempting for companies to have a minimum amount of staff looking after a maximum amount of properties, because staff are a cost and properties are an income. Now, what you've got to do is just make sure that they haven't done that too badly. You need to ask them how many staff they've got and how many properties they're managing, and work out what their ratio is. If their ratio is no more than about 150, that's about right. If they're going north of 150 properties per employee, then start to worry, because they're going to have to cut corners, and some of the corners they may cut is the inspections on your property that they're supposed to do for you. And if you've got an investment property and you're watching this now, it might be worth just checking how many inspections has your rental manager done for you lately, because one of the ways that rental managers cut corners to save costs and make money is not doing your rental inspection. The third thing we must do is make sure that our rental manager loves us. And what I mean by that is you've got to make sure that they think that you're a great person and they don't want to let you down. Now, how do you do that? Well, you're always polite and courteous, you're always grateful in your correspondence with them. Send them a gift at Christmas time, maybe a bunch of flowers if they're a lady, a bottle of spirits if they're a guy, or maybe the ladies like spirits as well. Just find out what they like and give it to them, and treat them really well. Yes, you are paying them to do a job, but the reality is if they don't like you, they're going to side with their other landlords. So in walks, your property's vacant and so is someone else's, and in walks the ideal tenant into the rental office. And they say, hi, I'm a highly paid such and such, this is my wife, she's a highly paid such and such, these are my beautiful children, you can see they're not trashing the joint, they've got shoes on their feet, and we would like a place to rent. Now, if you've been a bastard to your rental manager, screwing them down on their management fee, giving them a hard time, being rude to them, demanding things of them, well, if you were that person, would you work hard for you? No, you wouldn't, right? So what you want to be, even though it might be painful for you, you want to be really nice to your rental manager so that they love you and bend over backwards. And when they love you, they won't put a bad tenant in because they've been in the game long enough. They know what a bad tenant looks like. They can see from their profile, they'll look at their rental history, and they won't give you the tenant. Now, these are your prevention measures. Middle of the market, great rental manager, then make sure they love you. Now, this is your cure. If you get a bad tenant, always make sure you've got cash reserves and make sure you've got landlord's insurance. Now, landlord's insurance, you can claim against for any damages that a bad tenant may do to your place, and any lost rent and any damages. But the problem with that is it takes time to pay out, right? And there may be an excess in your insurance policy. So what we need to do is make sure we're still maintaining some cash reserves. And if we get a bad tenant, we ruthlessly get rid of them as fast as possible, and then we immediately use our own cash to fix the property, get it back on the market and rent it again. So we get the tradies in there the very next day, fix the property, and then claim those expenses on the insurance policy to be reimbursed later. Because every day that your property is vacant or every day you're not getting paid rent, you're paying the mortgage on your own, and that's burning a hole in your pocket. So, vacancy is the enemy. We want to make sure that someone's in there really quick. So in summary, real simple. Buy in the middle of the market, buy brand new. Make sure you've got a great rental manager, make sure they love you, and keep some cash in reserve and have a landlord's insurance policy. And don't let a fear of bad tenants stop you from investing in property, because if you don't buy property, you're guaranteed to make no money from property investing. Cheers.